Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Cabinet meeting. The first thing we have to do is sign the minutes. Has everyone looked at them? Is everyone happy with them? Yes. Thank you very much. There are no members absent. Any declarations of personal prejudicial interest? No. Thank you very much. So we come to public question time. We've had a number of questions submitted and written answers have been circulated. I don't propose to read those answers out, but instead to maximise the time available for supplementary questions. So perhaps I could ask Mr. Dick to come to the table first.
Yeah, my supplementary question is, given that the level of investment from capita rose by 1.7 million in the intervening week between the two reports being published, do you understand why many people no longer believe a single word Barnett said?
I assume that's a rhetorical question. Thank you. Question 2, Francis Bryce.
No answer.
No supplementary question, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Thu6 Dec.
Oh, sorry. I'm here, but I believe there is
It's
some...
Mr. Silverman. Okay, thank you.
It seems, I've read your reply, it seems to me that you don't really understand the drift of the question that I was asking you. Let me explain what the question, what was, why I asked that question. I'm just wondering why I can see that you're under pressure from all sides, from the top and from the government and from the big corporations and from the residents that you direct. We are against this. They're for us, one part, and it's part of the election program. So I'm wondering how it works, why you're doing it. And it seems to me that it's quite obvious, the evidence is there. I mean, if we didn't know from yesterday, we know from yesterday's budget statements that with the economy is in crisis, the government has the attitude that it has to be, that they have to try to save the profitability for investors. People who are not investors can pay for it. And among the other, what they've done is, they have successive governments actually done this, but starved councils from funding, which is part of the reason why Barnett in the capital state it is now. All the public services that used to belong to councils or to be under their control, public services that are very profitable, like gas, electricity, water supply, telecommunications, have been taken away from us. So naturally, the councils haven't got the funds. So now you're in this situation. So that's why, we call it a crisis. As some of you may remember, Max Wide, who represented BT and represented this council at the same time, apparently, and his motto that he's
And you're cutting down the time for others.
Yes, well, his motto that became was never waste a good crisis, learn to love a recession. And I wonder if that sort of motivation is what is behind the impulse to privatise now.
Well, can I answer? You have now asked a question.
No, let's finish the question. The question is going to be, I'll just come to it now, just come to the end. It's we don't have much time to be able to communicate with one another, do we? Paul Pinder, who earned £7 million that year before last, and had his wages cut down to only £1 million last year, said public sector work is looking encouraging, with austerity measures fueling that. So he knows, if you don't know, that it's the austerity measures that are, what we're doing now is benefiting the
I think I will answer now.
parasitic industry.
Mr.
What I'm asking you, here's the
Macroeconomics is
question.
outside the scope of this
Well, then
committee.
why did you raise those points yourself on your own answer?
It is out of the scope of the supplementary
You
question.
yourself
The
have-
supplementary question, you have asked, why are we doing this? We are doing
No,
this
that's
to
not my
ensure
question.
that...
My question is,
question you asked.
no, my question is this, I'll put it now in one phrase. Are you doing it to serve the big corporation like Capital and BT, or are you doing it to serve the community? Which?
We're doing it to serve the community. And now we go on to Tessa Wesley, please.
Would you like another, Mr. Cornelius, would you like another opportunity to answer Mr. Silverman? I would like.
Mr. Silverman, you actually moved to ask a concise question at the end, and I answered it perfectly correctly.
Let me explain it again. The government comes presents you with a contradictory. They say they want to give power to the people. It says, your document says this. You quote from the document where the government itself says they want to aid councils to give power to the people. What we want to know is when are you going to do that?
Actually, your answer, Mr. Cornelius, fits directly into my supplementary question because you did not answer my question either. I asked, why are you objecting so much to carry out a public sector comparator, to compare the bids of Capital and the other private bidders with provision of in-house services? And in your answer, you spoke about whether or not it is statutory obligatory for you to do this. This was not my question. I would like to ask again, if you are here to serve the community, as you just replied from Mr. Silverman, if that is what you're really doing, why do you not seek the best value for money? Why do you not seek to retain the services in-house and to keep the community and the local economy as it is going now, or to improve it? Why do you object to carry out a comparison with in-house provision like it is done in other places?
In-house comparison was done, highlighted at the last meeting in front of scrutiny, but this is...
Was not that, it was options appraisal that
as I said,
Options appraisal, don't you know the difference?
we sent you, I myself sent you examples of public sector comparators so that you will know the difference between this and options appraisal.
through the work that we realised that we wouldn't be able to bring in the investment needed to improve our services. We do not have £13.5 million to invest in our services. Investments that will
How much you spent on consultants? 20 million?
Consultants were a waste of money.
We spent £2.5 million, apologies, to make a net saving of £125 million over the life of this contract.
I'm sorry, this is not an answer. And in fact, as I learned from a pre-action letter that you received today from the lawyers of Maria Nash, I believe, it seems that it is statutory obligatory for you to carry out in-house comparator, public sector comparator. So your answer is not only didn't answer my question, why do you object, but it's also inaccurate, to say the least.
Answer the question.
There seems to be a general problem with the answers to the questions. the question I asked was list all the services outsourced, now being outsourced, and to be outsourced, and give a total number and the percentage of public services they represent. And I got an answer that I've heard all too often about the budget and the percentage of the budget. I didn't ask about the budget, I asked about the number of services. Can anybody here actually tell us how many services in total are being outsourced, and what percentage of all services that are public services supposedly controlled by Barnet Council that represents?
Mrs. Jacobson, there's a problem with actually arriving at that statistic, because you would then have to define what is outsourced very carefully. Are all the services contracts a form of outsourcing, etc., etc.? It's not a figure that it's possible to arrive at. It's not possible, so you have the figures here that are the best indicator that we can.
That's funny, because I can count 30 services partially outsourced or fully outsourced or about to be outsourced. And all you have to do is say, there are so many totally outsourced. You should be able to count.
Speak in the microphone.
Well, if you've already counted, perhaps you don't need the answer, but perhaps...
No, I'm
You said it's 30%, we know it's 70%.
There are services that are outsourced at the moment, adult social services is a classic example of those, and they run very well, and I'm proud of our adult social services.
Nobody asked you how they ran. I asked you about the numbers. Why can you not answer a question that you were asked?
For the reason that I gave you, Mrs. Jacobson.
Then it's really sad that the council cannot count the number of services that it controls. It seems to be that you don't know what you control, or should control, and don't.
You control it.
Mr. Martin.
Thank you. The final sentence of your response... Sorry. The final sentence of your response is worthy of repetition, and I shall quote it. The contract has sufficient flexibility to allow changes in council priorities to be accommodated, and the council retains the ability to terminate if that option is deemed appropriate and cost-effective at any time. My question is, will the details of the ability to terminate and when at any time be fully explained before the contract is signed and documented for everyone to understand?
Mr. Martin, if you turn your microphone off. The contract, as such, contains a lot of sensitive commercial information. Which will have to be redacted.
Secrets against us.
It will have to be redacted.
How can there be commercial secrets when it's our services?
It will have to be redacted before the contract is published, but the contract will be published within a couple of months, by the early summer.
You're signing it today. This is important, sir.
Yes.
You're signing it today, and you've given me quite a decent answer here, but it's so important that people need to know the small print.
The contract is a very long contract, and the contract has been looked at by lawyers as contracts always are. And the savings have been given to the councillors, and we are reliant on the lawyers' advice in making our decision.
The lawyers aren't signing it, you are.
Your pension is a guarantee. That's got to be the most rubbish answer so far.
Good evening. There seems to be a little pattern in the answers here, which other questions picked up on, which is We ask a question and you answer a completely different one. 2 months ago, if we'd had this meeting 2 months ago, we've had Mr. Nick Walkley sitting there. He's left. We've had Brian Coleman, who I don't agree with much about, but I do agree with him about one line. He says that it's a complete utter shambles and a folly. He outlined in his piece that was in the paper about the meeting where cabinet members were actually bullying Conservative councillors into falling into line behind this. Could you tell me whether or not the account that Councillor Coleman gave of that meeting was actually a correct and honest appraisal of what happened at the Conservative group meeting, where it was decided to put the whole group behind this?
Councillor Coleman wasn't in attendance at that meeting.
That's not a question. Is his account?
It is not a completely accurate account. It contains some elements of what happened at the meeting, but it is always very difficult when writing an article dependent on hearsay.
No, who's lying? Are you a bully?
Is that a yes or a no?
Mrs. Musgrove?
On Sunday, on BBC Politics... Sorry. On Sunday, Councillor Cornelius, you claimed that you didn't know whether or not planning was going to be included in the DRS package. Either you really didn't know, which is an indication of how little grasp you have on the whole one-part process, just as you didn't know that your officers had decided we're going to have a joint venture model, which I see we're now embracing. Today you've had some papers served on you in relation to a judicial review. I do not think really, because you have such a grasp on the direction of this programme and you're being legally challenged. The correct thing to do this evening is actually to halt the programme now.
As to how the confusion arose with regard to judicial review is quite simple. The decision has not as yet been made. It would be quite improper to say that it had, and we were definite about what we are going to do. That decision will be made at a later public meeting. In the meantime, I think it is essential that we get on with making the decision that we have before us tonight. Thank you.
Perhaps you ought
And the next question is Ms. Fiona Brickwood, please.
I am very concerned by the answer that you've given here to say that you don't have to comply with legislation.
Microphone.
It is on. I am very concerned by the answer that you've given here to say that you don't have to comply with the legislation because it hasn't come in yet. Now, the legislation was passed in February 2012 and it is coming into effect in January. Now, during the period in which you have been doing this procurement, which is since 2010 and going to 2011, this legislation was on the books, you knew it was coming in, you knew that this was what the government wanted you to do, and you knew that it is actually very benign for the borough, because it is asking social enterprises and charities to be a part of the procurement process. So therefore, I find it very disturbing, really, that you try to avoid this legislation. And I ask you to consider whether avoidance is okay. It's not, maybe not evasion, but it is avoidance of legislation. And I ask you to reconsider whether it's all right for the council to behave in that way.
It's not.
It's not.
Illegal.
My consideration is, sorry Robert, would you like to actually answer this one?
We've gone through everything possible to ensure that we are meeting every legislation that's in place at the moment. I don't think Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
About this.
The council has complied with all required legislative procedures that it needs to observe, including UK and European statute.
So you're saying that it's not evasion, it's just avoidance?
It's legal, it's compliance. Next question, Mr. Dix.
Thank you for your response. On the basis of what you said, what happens to the 80% of investment outside borough in the event of early termination of the contract? What will happen? Will it be money down the drain?
It won't be money down the drain in that the investment will be there and the council will take possession of that investment if it's required for us to do so.
If it's not involved.
We live in one large country, we can take it from anywhere. Thank you.
Who's taking the profit? Who's taking the profit? That's our money.
Next question, Francis Grant.
Profit is yes, there's no profit.
Yep. Hello. As you pointed out, it's a leading lawyer firm that you chose that have worked on contracts before and outsourcing. Have any of them failed?
Shall we ask the solicitor?
Yes.
We should ask Ashley.
None of the contracts that Travers and Hammonds advised on have failed.
Ever? How many?
I think we come to Tits of Isel again, please.
Hang on, what's the answer?
Again, there was not an answer? I can't believe it! You can't be serious.
You're asking questions, you have to answer us.
Well, they never do, Ozzy. Anyway. I was very surprised when I went through the documents to last week's meeting to find out that the rate of council tax collection that was determined as the threshold for capita, which if they don't collect, they have to compensate money or to fill in the gap, was set on the lowest tax collection year, 2010-2011, when we had a new IT system that didn't work, and as far as I remember, there were about 2 months that the staff members of benefits and revenues weren't able to do their job properly. Other than that, as you admit in your answer, the collection rate of our in-house benefits and revenue department is very high. In fact, it's high even comparing to national levels. In your answer, you say that the Capita's fundamental commitment in this area is to increase overall collection rate above the current collection rate of 98.2%. The national average, I believe, I think it's 96.3. So my question is, my question is, if the current collection of our in-house benefit and revenue department, which is your income generation arm, really, if this is so high, why are you not retaining this department in-house? Why are you giving it as a present to Capita?
Through you, it's not just the performance of the service that's taken into account, but the cost. And whilst we are at 98.2%, there is a target higher than that Capita are bound to collect, and therefore we will get more council tax from that, and that is detailed in the report. So it's not just about the output. it's about the cost of the service. And may I add you, it's nice to have a member of the public praise our council tax collection, because in the past, particularly the Labour Party, had criticised us for our collection rate, but now we've got a similar socialist
You've got a fantastic department that collects a lot of the tax. You want to tell me that the salaries you pay to our staff is higher than what the shareholders of Capital will get?
Yeah, it's all about economies of scale.
Economies of scale is another phrase that doesn't say anything. You're hiding behind it, like you're hiding behind the one service that you brought in-house and you're selling off the rest of our future. So again, I'm afraid no answer was given.
Yes.
Right, I asked about the fact that at the last but one Budget and Performance Scrutiny and Overview Committee, if I got that in the right order, you, Councillor Cornelius, and I believe your deputy, both said you hadn't seen anything about the joint venture. The next day, as I said in my question, it was confirmed to staff by a senior officer that it was going to be a joint venture. Now you've come out and said that you have decided on the joint venture. So my simple question is, will you categorically state that you decided on the joint venture before the senior officers confirmed it?
Until we actually take the decision.
But we intend to take a decision.
What do you intend is Mr. Martin.
I'm pleased to have the reassurance of your reply, and I have no supplementary question.
Excellent.
Thank you. Fiona Brickwood.
Give the sign up you can see.
I've been told by council staff that you have not consulted with them to see if they have other suggestions as to how things might be done so that they don't have to be made redundant. There might be various ways that ideas that they come up with. Now, these people's lives that you're playing with here, and a lot of people are being laid off. They're going to be losing their income for the rest of their lives. They're going to be losing their pension contributions. It's going to have a very serious effect on them. So will you please consult with the employees before you do all this?
We have worked with many employees to improve the services.
That's false. Answer the
I'm
question.
sure that probably gives behind that.
You did not.
We worked to improve services.
Porkies.
I have that point that I've made many times before. Job losses are never a good thing. We don't want to lose staff.
You don't care!
It's a lot better than it has been at other boroughs.
Oh, yeah.
Like Newcastle, thousands of job losses. We are very
What about settlement
service for
Your
us.
job is next online anyway.
I need to add that until a decision is made, then obviously there's no consultation. But when a decision is made, Capita will consult with the staff concerned. Capita will do their very best to redeploy the staff with concerned. If staff cannot be accommodated within Capita, then Capita will do its utmost, as the council does, to help them find a job elsewhere. So we will be supportive. We will support staff very much in the same way as well as the council does its
It might be helpful to point out Capita's own revenues. Capita's average retention rate of local employees is over 90%. They have a huge tax staff, and I'm sure that will work well for our staff.
Can I just begin one more question, Mr. Dix?
proper answer.
Tony's mic off first.
Yeah, it's to do with the liabilities at the
Hey,
end.
Mike!
Liabilities at the end of the contract. Can you clarify if the liability for redundancy at the end of the contract could be significant if the service is if the service is brought back in house, and was that redundancy liability factored in to the overall tender analysis?
You haven't read the contract.
How would you know?
So the cost of re-procurement would be a cost that the council would have to pay at the end of the arrangement. The cost of re-procurement, or indeed the cost of bringing the services back in house, would be a cost of the council at the end of the arrangement. In terms of the evaluation, there's no differing impact in terms of how that would affect one bidder or other bidder.
Microphones can't hear your live.
He admitted it. You have to pay.
I'd like to hear from him. Can you speak closer to
The
the
cost of redundancy, if those services were brought back in house, would
I've been trying to get how much is that redundancy like? Because it could be a very significant sum.
well, it's absolutely impossible to say because at that point in time, we don't know what the situation in terms of the services, the ability for particular staff to transfer back, or what.
So it's an open check.
It could be millions.
It will be millions. Have you considered it?
Could be millions.
No.
Now we come to the end of question. We now come to the end of question time.
Oh, no.